Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Learning Kitchen Live. My name is Carolyn and I am one of the dietitians here at Community Servings.
And I'm Betsy Lucars. I'm a dietetic intern helping out Carolyn.
So we're so excited to have you back with us this week. As always, we want to thank our friends at Boston Scientific for their ongoing support of Learning Kitchen Live. As you might remember, we do put the recipe as well as a handout in the comment section of this video. So be sure to check that out after this video if you want to make this at home. And if you do have a couple minutes after this video, we would love for you to take our survey. It just helps give us an idea of things that you want to see in upcoming videos.
So today we have a great meal prepared. We are making farro with mushrooms and peas. For those of you who aren't familiar with farro, it's an ancient grain that is from the Middle East, but in modern times it can be found in Italy mostly and imported. The really cool thing about farro is that it has a very unique chewy texture and it's also got a great nutty flavor.
All right, we're gonna jump right in and just kind of show you how to prep some of the veggies for this recipe. As Betsy said, we have some mushrooms and we have peas, and then we also have scallions or green onions. So you may see these at the grocery store. They're referred to as scallions or green onions in recipes, and they kind of have two parts. They have this whitish colored bulb at the end, and then they have stems. So when thinking about sauteing a recipe, like we're going to do today, we like to use the whiter bulbs of them just because they're a little bit firmer and they cook up nicely. So what you're going to do is just trim off the bottom edges where the little roots are and put those to the side and simply slice the whiter pieces, usually about halfway up kind of the stalk. Now, as we talk about in Learning Kitchen Live videos, we do not like food waste, right? We like to use all the food and save the money that we have. So these green stems or these stalks here, you can use these in other recipes. You certainly could add them in and saute them all up. You could use them as a garnish on dishes after things are cooked. You can add them to regular salads or even other stir fries and dishes. So don't throw them away just because we're not using them in the recipe. You certainly can use them in other things throughout the week.
So I've added about 2 tablespoons of olive oil to the pan, and I'm going to chop the garlic. We are going to put the garlic in last because you don't want to burn or overcook the garlic. It can have kind of a bitter taste. And for those of you who have ever struggled with trying to peel garlic, my favorite trick is just to lay the flat end of a knife down on the garlic with the peel on and give it a good slam, maybe harder like that, and it will peel right away. And then when you are chopping it, you just want to take off that kind of hard edge, and then the rest of it can be just chopped. Keep the tip down on the cutting board and go back and forth, and whoops, almost cut myself. Maybe go kind of horizontally and then vertically, and you know, you just want to get it to a fine dice, but really anything will kind of work. So I'm going to put that aside, and then I am going to do a rough chop of the mushrooms. I've taken the stems off because sometimes the stems can be woody tasting. Sometimes they're not, so you kind of have to know which mushrooms, you know, have better tasting, better kind of quality stems. And but as Carolyn and I were talking about before, you don't have to waste the stems either. Those can go into a vegetable stock if you'd like. Plenty to do with them. So again, I'm just doing a rough chop. No need to be at all, you know, accurate. Again, you can kind of do vertical and then horizontal, and what you want to end up with is a piece that's about a ½ inch cubed. So there we go.
All right, so Betsy's going to keep chopping those. This recipe today uses or calls for baby bella, sometimes cremini mushrooms you might see at the grocery store. However, I know sometimes when you go to the produce section, they don't always have the mushroom that you want available. So don't be afraid of that. You can certainly use just like light loose white mushrooms, button mushrooms, portobello mushrooms. Those are like the bigger caps. They might be a little bit more challenging in this recipe, but again, you certainly could use them if you wanted. So don't let that deter you if you can't find the specific mushroom type at the grocery store.
Yep. So I've added my mushrooms into the pan, and then next I'm going to put in the green onions. And if you need to add a little bit more oil, feel free to do that. We are also going to add the frozen peas. Those will start to thaw out and then cook as we saute, and then cook again as we add the broth in. So I am going to start that, and it does look like I need a little bit more oil, so I'll add that in. And again, Carolyn, don't let me forget to add the garlic.
Yes, the garlic on the side. So again, as Betsy said, you're going to want to add that in a little bit later on so it doesn't get that bitter or burnt flavor. So while Betsy is sauteing that all up, she's going to tell you a little bit more about mushrooms, which are really the star ingredient or nutrient of this recipe today.
Yep. So mushrooms are pretty incredible. So they are fat-free, they're low-calorie, low sodium, and cholesterol free, but that's not all. They are also packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And today we happen to be pairing them with the grain farro that we mentioned, which also has a lot of fiber in it. And fiber is so helpful for so many different bodily functions. It's good for heart health. It can lower cholesterol. It can also stabilize blood sugar. It gives you a feeling of fullness, so you're less likely to overeat. And it's also very good for the digestive system. In terms of what the average adult needs per day, you really want to have between 20 and 30 grams of fiber each day. Sadly, that's not what the average American gets, closer to 15. So eating plants is definitely one way that's really helpful for adding fiber into your diet. Can you hear this sizzle?
Yes.
It's starting to release these great, great flavors.
And we're not going to forget the garlic.
No,
a couple more minutes.
Yeah, actually one more minute.
Okay,
and
great.
We'll put the garlic in.
So while Betsy just kind of finishes up sauteing and getting those veggies a little bit softer, I want to talk not just about the nutritional benefits of this recipe, but again, the cost saving and kind of versatility of this recipe. As we said earlier, right, we don't like food waste. We want to make sure we're using all of the different ingredients. And that's what this recipe is really great for. So today we're using, as we said, farro, which is a whole grain option. But again, sometimes you see a recipe and you're like, oh, I don't have that in my pantry. I only have brown rice, or I only have quinoa. Perfectly fine. You can use any grain in this recipe that you might have on hand. Again, like I said, brown rice, bulgur, barley, quinoa, especially if maybe you follow a gluten-free diet or have celiac disease. Any of those are going to be a great option in this recipe. Something nice too about this is the veggie options. So I feel like we've all been there. You get to the end of the week and you look in your fridge and you say, oh shoot, I have a few carrots left, or I have this lone zucchini. What am I going to do with it, right? This type of recipe, you can chop them up, throw them in. Really any type of veggie option will do or work. And what's great about a recipe like this is you get to the end of the week and you certainly, oh yeah, go ahead, grab the garlic. You certainly can go ahead and, you know, save not only food waste, right? You're not going to be wasting food, but it also can save your money as you're getting more for your dollar.
Yep, and for anyone who might have a gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, you can use quinoa as a good substitute.
Excellent. Yeah, so it smells super good with the garlic added in there.
Yeah, and 30 more seconds, and then I think we'll add the farro. Almost there.
Excellent. Yeah, and you know too, we're using frozen peas today. I think that's another option. Sometimes people are scared or aren't really sure about frozen vegetables. Some people might think, hey, they're not as nutritious, they're not as fresh, but frozen fruits and veggies, if they're not packed in like sugars or have no added sauces on them, are a great affordable option. They lock in the nutrients right after they're picked because they're flash frozen, so they actually can be really nutritious for us, you know, especially in the winter time. I know here in New England we're getting into into the spring where all the fresh produce is available. But don't be afraid of using frozen produce when cooking as well.
Okay, so now we're going to add the farro. So we add the farro dry. I'm going to add just a teeny bit more olive oil, like maybe a teaspoon or 1 more tablespoon, and then we add the farro. At the same time, we're going to add the spices. So we're using paprika and thyme. Feel free to use whatever spices you like, ones that you have lying around the house. And we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, but this does not need much salt at all. So what's going to happen is the farro, I'm going to turn it down a little bit to low, and the farro is going to absorb all these great flavors, and it's going to also absorb a little bit of the oil as well. So we're going to coat that, and normally you'd want to cook this for about 4 to 5 minutes, maybe a little less, maybe 3 to 4.
Great. Yeah, so, again, what's going to happen is all of those like flavors from the spices are going to kind of get absorbed into the farro as well as the veggies in there. And what I want to do while this is kind of simmering and cooking on there, I want to go back to talking about fiber a little bit. Betsy had said earlier, the average American gets 15 grams of fiber a day, when really we want to strive for 20 to closer to 30 grams. As Betsy said, eating more plant foods is a great option, but what does that mean? So I have some ideas and ways that I eat more fiber, but I like to hear from Betsy as well. Can you share either ways that maybe the audience can get more fiber into their diet or things that you do?
Absolutely. So one way that you can get more fiber is to substitute that glass of juice in the morning for a whole piece of fruit. If you have orange juice, have an orange or clementine. You're getting a lot of fiber through that, and that also helps to give you that feeling of fullness. Let's see, what else? I know with my kids, what we do is try to substitute whole wheat for white bread. That's something that you can do slowly over time, and you gain a real taste for whole wheat. Another thing that you can do is, if you're a meat eater, certainly once or twice a week you can substitute beans for meat. They're just as flavorful, they are packed full of fiber, and you won't miss the meat.
Yeah, so those are all really good suggestions on how you can eat more plant foods or just get more fiber into your diet. And as Betsy said, you can make small changes at first. It doesn't have to be this big overhaul at once. In fact, you're going to want to go a little bit slower if you're someone who maybe doesn't eat a whole lot of plant foods. We want to make sure we're getting that fiber in there, but you don't want to overdo it and cause an upset stomach. Something that I like to do is start my day with a fiber-rich breakfast, especially on the weekends. I don't know about all of you, but sometimes on the weekends I will go hours or maybe towards the end of the day and think back and say, I don't know if I've had any fruits or veggies today. Maybe not a whole lot of plant foods. So especially on the weekends, I like to start my day with a fiber-rich meal. That way I know at least, hey, I am getting a lot in at the beginning of the day, and hopefully it helps kind of encourage me to eat more plant foods as the day progresses. A fiber-rich breakfast that I like to have is a bowl of oatmeal. So oats, again, are a whole grain, lots of fiber in there. I'll add frozen or fresh fruits on top, maybe some nuts or seeds, nut butter, really a lot of just different, again, plant fiber-rich foods. So that's a great strategy, again, especially if the weekends are challenging for you. Making sure that you get that one meal in there can really help set your pace for the rest of the day.
Okay, so everything is kind of softened, and I think the farro has absorbed a lot of the flavors. So at home you'll want to boil some either vegetable stock or chicken stock. We've done that ahead of time. So I'm going to add, I think it's 2 1/4 cups right in here. And then we are going to let this, actually bring it up to a boil. And once it reaches a boil, then we're going to turn it down to simmer for about 20-25 minutes. And, but I think we've cooked ahead of time, so we will show you the finished product.
All right, so Betsy's going to go ahead. Like we said, we cooked some a little bit earlier because this does take maybe 20 to 30 minutes to kind of soak in all of the liquid. So what Betsy's going to do is show you what the final product looks like, and she's going to show you how you can really finish off this meal for yourself or for your family.
Oh, it smells so good. There we go, and a nice mushroom on top. Then we are going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan. You can use Parmesan or Romano cheese on top. You can also finish it off with any herbs that you might have. And there you have it. We have a farro dish with mushrooms and peas, and ready to support your digestive health and lots of fiber.
So we hope that you've enjoyed this recipe. You can see how quick and easy it is to put together. If you do try it out, let us know what you think. If you use different ingredients, if you use a different grain, maybe different veggies, we love your feedback. And as always, we really do thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you here again next week.